Okay, so we are back after somewhat of a hiatus, an illness hiatus, and we're in Hilchos Sanhedrin, והעונשין, המסורין להן, פרק ד' הלכה י"א, and the question was raised, how do we get here again? So the quick recap of this was we were in Kavod Harav, and we did the Isser of being cholik im rabo, which the Rambam holds means that you basically set yourself up as an independent authority without your Rav's permission. And then from there, I had wanted to look at what contemporary smicha is. From there we went into the issue of higila hora'ah. And I wanted on that basis to go into what contemporary smicha is, because that has to do with basically a combo of your Rav giving you permission to be, to give hora'ah or to be melamed or to set up a base midrash, and also his haskama, his public haskama that you are higila hora'ah. And then once we were into that, I wanted to talk about what actual smicha was, because it'll be, many years before we get to Semichah in the Rambam at the rate we're going. So I thought that was an interesting topic, and I really wanted to get there for what we're going to do today, because this is kind of a hot topic there. And then I didn't realize that at the end of this parak, he also talks about certain criteria that the dayan has to have in mind when he's being done, and that's very related also to like the attitude towards giving psak that we were talking about. And ad asis lahachi, and by hachi I mean like so far off of the beaten path. I wanted to recommend something which I'm not done listening to yet. I started listening to it this morning. I never heard of this podcast before. It's called Behind the Bema. And so the most recent episode, not the most recent anymore. The most recent episode. This is an interview with Rav Schechter on basically being a posek. And I thought it was a really interesting interview. I'm like 2/3 of the way through it, but he talks about a lot of like what he holds it means to paskin and what the criteria are for paskening. And I was just very surprised, because it was very different from what we saw in the Hakdam Te'egros Moshe. And he even talks about Rav Moshe. And even the way he talks about Rav Moshe is slightly different than what we saw from Rav Moshe himself. He also talks about the Rav's approach to giving psak, which was different than Rav Moshe, which is different than the Aruch HaShulchan. He's talking about the Aruch HaShulchan right now. I'm very shocked by what he says about the Aruch HaShulchan, like extremely shocked. But I'll let that be a teaser. Just because it's in the area, and because like he is, one of the Gedolei Hador and Poskim Hador, and you rarely hear Poskim talk about the process of giving psak, then I think it's just an interesting thing that I want to recommend. Okay, yeah. What was the name called? Behind the Bema, and it's titled bonus episode. I guess it was I don't count that as a source. January 9th, I guess, is the day it came out. Okay, so we are back in Hilchos Sanhedrin, Va'OnShin, HaMasurin Lahen, Daled Yud Aleph. Okay, so we read, yeah, that's why I asked. Here you go. Okay, so we read this paragraph last time, and we kind of like were puzzled. Hare shelo haya be'eretz Yisrael ela samuch echad. Perek daled halacha yud aleph. If there was only in the land of Israel one samuch. Now, I saw when I just looked it up in the kafech, I think that says Hare shelo haya be'eretz Yisrael ela somech echad. Is that true, Isaac?
Yes.
So I don't know what that means. That there's only one somech, like a person who can give smicha or who gives smicha. I mean, practically speaking, I think it's the same thing, like, because we're talking about giving smicha, but whatever. So what do? Moshiv shnayim betzido, you station two people next to him, the somech shivim ke'echad, and you are somech 70 as one, oze achar zeh, or one after the other. V'achar kach ye'aseh hu v'hashivim beistin hagadol, and then afterwards, he and the 70 constitute a Beis Din Hagadol. V'yismechu bate dinin acherim, and they could be somech other bate dinim. So we didn't really know what was going on here. Sounds like, just from the way he talks about it, that he's talking about a process of creating bate dinim, being somech bate dinim, which I don't even know what that means. And when we speculated that maybe there is something that has to do with like only the Beis Din Hagadol can make other Bate Dinim, because we know that there's like a hierarchy of the Bate Dinim, but we didn't go into those halachos, and I kind of don't want to go into those because that'd be like off topic of the off topic of the off topic. But this is what I want to get to now. Okay, this is the fun halacha. Nirin li hadvarim. So it seems to me, and again, we see from the Rambam's Igros that we read earlier in the year that I think it's from his Igros to Pinchas Hadayan, that every statement in the Mishnah Torah, he says, is an open statement from one of the primary sources of Mishnah, Brisa, Tosafta, Sifra, Sifrei. Open source, take that with a grain of salt, but like, it's a quotation or a paraphrasing of that, unless he says nearly, right? So this is the Rambam's own Chiddush. That if all the Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael agree to appoint judges and to give them smicha, hari elu smuchin, then they are considered to have smicha. V'yesh lahen ladun dine knasos, and they have the ability to be done dine knasos. V'yesh lahen, and we said dine knasos, we read earlier, is when you are either giving more or less than damages as a penalty, but damages itself is not knasos. V'yesh lahen lismach lachem, they can give smicha to others. In Cain, if so. So actually, before we do the Imkain, let's just read in the Rav Makbili and see if he clarifies anything here. Nearly hadvarim hatzharas haramam shahalachazo midato ve'ein la makor meforish. Oh, that's what I just said, right? Oh, and it was right, Pinchas Hadayan. That this is the Rambam's preface, that this is his own opinion and is not an open source. I don't know if I'm intentionally using the word open source because I know that you have a different meaning of open source, but like it's whatever. Mitztarin? Oh, did we not? Okay, fine. So that's it. That's all Rav Makbila said so far. Okay, let's go on in the halacha. In Cain, if so, lama hayu hachachamim mitztarin al hasmicha k'deisho lu yivtelu dine knasos miYisrael. So if so, why were the chachamim mitztar? Why were they afflicted, or why did they feel pain regarding smicha, in order that dine knasos are not batal from Israel? Right. So what does this mean? So let's look at Rav Makbila here. Mitztarin. Misamtzim va'od. How do you translate misamtzim? Revved up? Chazak ve'ematz, misamtzim, they were made, why did they, I feel like there's an English word here. Like, riled up, distressed, but it has like why did they exert themselves kind of, about this? Let's see. Like, I know the story. Even to the point where they endanger their lives in order to give smicha to others. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, he's one of the 10, right? I feel like I hear his name every year, or twice a year technically. Shesamach es talmida b'shas hagezera, that he gave smicha to his students at the time of gezera, v'neharag miyad la'achar mikain, and he was killed immediately afterwards. Isn't that the case where he was like being chased by soldiers, and like he like wedged himself into like a cleft in the rock and like stopped them with his body and like gave smicha, and then got killed? There's some like heroic story like that. Yeah, it's an awesome story. I don't know it well enough to even know whether it is in the Gemara or whether it's just something I heard from a thing. This is during the photographic memory period, and so I heard it from a barrel wind cassette tape, but I don't know what tape, and so I can't give you a citation there.
I thought it was it might have been him, might have been somebody else who, like, there was zero that anyone who gave smicha would be killed, and the town where the whole town would be killed, and they'd uproot the tomb, and so he like stationed himself like right in between two towns.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, that's slightly different in my memory, but again, I didn't see the original source. I forgot to do the test from this morning, so I guess we're still doing a sound test. See if this sounds better, worse, drunk or sober. Right? Yeah.
I didn't notice anything.
Okay, so the question is whether how much this occurs in the Zoom or how much this occurs in the recording. Okay. I'm not sure, because it might be an interaction between the two, so we'll have to remember to do this later. Okay, anyway. So that's the question though, basically, is like, why go through such a big deal to save smicha if you can just restore it? Like, not when I say just, I don't mean like that. I mean, like, if you can restore it. So why? So he says, Lefish Yisrael mufuzarin, because Israel is dispersed. The afshar shiyaskimu kulan, and it's not possible for all of them to agree. Yeah. V'im hayasham samach mipi samach, and if there was if there was someone who had the smicha going all the way back, then you wouldn't need everyone to agree. Ella dan dine knasus lakol, rather he can be dan dine knasus for everyone. Shari nismach mipi based in, because he has smicha from based in. Well, what's going on here? But davar tzarich hechreya, and the matter needs a decision.
I guess for this smicha would be the collective Israel, that's sort of the collective permission of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And just if you give, and like even if I have, say, the collective permission of Israel, that even if that extends to my actions, it doesn't inherently extend to institution. It just maybe can't. Even with a Sanhedrin, you can build an institution that can.
Hold on, I feel like you're answering a question that I'm not realizing what question it is.
I just try to figure out the mixture of the savuch and all.
Oh, okay.
And all like why that's it, and also just think back earlier because in the first case, you said like the person who has the one guy who has smicha has to give it to everyone else.
Right.
Like, it can't be somebody gives
right.
smicha
So
to
hold on. So before I process what you're saying, before I call on you, Chaim, I just want to read Rambam Bekius just to make sure we have all the facts from the facts. She has kimu kulan, that all of them agree. Kol chachmei Eretz Yisrael. So all of the chachamim in Eretz Yisrael have to agree. Shekasha ad ma'od lechanes osam. I don't think that's the difficulty. It's difficult to gather them. I mean, yeah, okay, whatever. True, that is difficult, but I feel like the agreement is different. I don't know. I think gather he's saying because the Rambam does say mefuzar, right? Ulahagia la'achdus deim, right, and to reach a consensus of opinions of minds. B'she'ela es mi lismo, with the agreement of who to give smicha to. Ve'in mashgichin al yoshvei chutz la'aretz mipnei she'enam kruim kahal. We don't care about the people who dwell in chutz la'aretz because they're not called a kahal. So that's interesting. That's in Shkagos Yud Gimel Beis, but let's not look at that yet. V'hadar tzarich hechreya, afal pi shel Rambam hadvarim nirim. Even though the Rambam seemed to think that this is correct, mikol makom kevan shemedubar behachlata leumis, since he is talking about what is that national policy? I think that's how you translate that. Tzarich shedvarim elu yiskablu b'hachra'asam shel kol hachachamim sheberetz Yisrael k'dei Sanhedrin, so that they could we got a little catch-22 here, right? So they could establish the Sanhedrin. Kedivri Rabbeinu, as the Rambam says, Va'ani, quote, Va'ani savur Sanhedrin tashuv lifnei hisgalus hamashiach. So this is later on when he's talking about the Mashiach stuff. He says, I hold that the Sanhedrin will be restored before the revelation of the Mashiach. Misimanav, and this will be one of the signs. And without a doubt, this will be when God prepares or makes his machshir. I never know how to translate machshir. Sets up, makes proper the hearts of people. V'yarbu b'maaseh hatov, and increases the good acts. Lifnei bo hamashiach k'moshen nisbar b'psukei hamikra. As is clear from the Pesukah in the Mikra, Rabbeinu ra'a b'chidush hasmicha efsharus svira kasher ka'amar lahalan, and the Rambam saw in the renewal of smicha a reasonable possibility, as he says later on. I didn't know he had talked about this later on. V'nirim hadvarim shemishum kach kasav es Mishnah Torah. Seems like for this reason he wrote the Mishnah Torah. Hakolel es kol haTorah kadesh yeh sefer yesod sheyenahagu hadayanim halalu alpiv, so that there would be a foundational book for the dayanim to conduct themselves based on. Yeah, that's like speculation here. Yeah, that's not really a thing. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, where do you want to say?
Maybe to address the question. When the Rambam says that rather than the item was talking about from Semichah.
Yeah.
When it says already Nishmas Semichah.
Yeah.
I think the implication to that is that when the institution of whole God control gathered together in Mishmach of one person, they're not functioning as a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a
right.
They're just some extra halacha that for some reason it all got control.
Yeah.
Guy, then it works.
Right. So that's what we're doing
Which
with
is also the reason why he said that Dogma needs.
right. Yeah. So it sounds like there's like three levels of authority that we're dealing with in this paragraph so far. There's the authority of Smicha itself. Then there's the authority of basing Hagadol to be somech other Bate Dinim and other people. And then there's the Kahal of, really it's the Kahal of Chachamim, which is of Eretz Yisrael that is necessary to restore the Smicha itself and to start this whole chain.
So Smicha is a fundamentally permission that, like he's saying with Smicha earlier, like
I don't think it's permission. It sounds more like authorization.
It sounds like a halacha.
Yeah, right.
I was also thinking a bit of like a Rabbi Hirschberg issue and Migdal on this idea. I guess I was talking about permission idea as a collective Israel. Like he was saying some idea of quoting that the real authority is collective Israel, and basically just a stand-in for that.
Does that have anything to do with the Bavli, like the authority of the Bavli? Like I know that's a whole question in the Rambam about how like since all of Israel accepted Bavli, yeah, I feel like that's part of like a larger sugya, which is important, but
It just seems like he seems to hold that Smicha BP business is saying we should like think back earlier. He said Yehoshua in his basin who got from
right. Something's going on here, yeah.
Smicha's sort of permission. So for as a single guy, he might have the collective permission of everybody, but at the same time, he can't infinitely extend everyone's permission. I have all these so he can give some for others.
When you're in that from the Rambam.
Yeah.
There's a
what do you say?
I was going to ask from the ground up, like, what is this mechanism that he's proposing in particular?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't say like.
It's not Mosaic Smicha.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like let's say it was like literally like it was telephone where they were like tell the next person that like a word like the words that they heard. Like, like you can't like reinstitute that.
Right.
Like you can't just So what is this?
Right.
Yeah, I have a question based on.
I will add though, in regards to kind of addressing both of you are saying, is that it did seem like when we read earlier about the Yeshua thing, Moshe to Yeshua was one type of thing, and Yeshua to everyone else and everything on is another type of thing.
Right.
And then now the question is like, is this thing that he's saying here a third type of thing, or is this somehow a substitute for what Yeshua post Mosaic Smicha, or is this somehow like a replication or a substitute for the Mosaic Smicha, or is it like some Bedieved like thing? Yeah.
And the second question is, where is he getting this from? Which I think is tied to the previous question, but
from his sources Lee Hadar. But it's a good question, right?
Something about the Semichah.
Okay, maybe we could look at that in a second. Yeah.
I'm sorry. When are you getting the idea that Moshe Smicha
Well, so let's look back. Yeah, but he said that Ad Beisin Shel Yehoshua, right? Does he also say personally Yehoshua? Yeah. So it's interesting. There's two smichas here. Maybe I got to rephrase it, or maybe I got to edit it. Moshe in the Aleph 1, it says Moshe Rabbeinu Samach Yehoshua Bayad. Right. That sounds like a special thing. Okay. But then this is a. So first of all, why didn't he mention Shechina by Yehoshua? And also, he didn't do this Bayad, presumably, right? Unless you're going to say that the V'chein extends that. Yeah, okay, that you could say that. So the question is, why did he? In other words, why did he? If Moshe was so make the other was Canaan, why does he have to go? Ad based Dino Shel Yeshua, Ad based Dino Shel Moshe Rabbeinu. Why not just Ad based Dino Shel Moshe Rabbeinu or Ad Moshe Rabbeinu? Like it sounds like the based Dino Shel Yeshua is one thing, and like I don't know. To me, I'm getting like this notion of two tracks. Yeah.
Maybe sort of several. It's just like back when we were saying that what category fit is easier. That you see the collective of us being sort of someone is like Smicha of Moshe. That's the thing within. and then when they form the basin, and that basin, and then they give smicha after forming the
Right.
basin.
Then that's like the old system.
Then that's like
Like yeah, right. That's definitely a possibility. It sounds bizarre though, because like going back to Isaac's question, where's he get it from? What was the thing in Sanhedrin you want to show me?
Yeah.
Where?
It said, let me just look at the first thing. It said, Parak Aleph, Mishnah Gimel,
Okay. Smichas Zakenim. Okay, so let's look. I'll put up the Mishnah here,
Okay, so,
and then
okay.
let's see, Al Torah. Okay, 1 Sanhedrin 1:3. Sanhedrin 1:3. Okay, let me share the whole screen. Okay, Sanhedrin 1:3. So the Mishnah says, Smichas Zakenim ba'arifas egla bishlosha. Divrei Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Huda Omer b'chamisha. Never heard that before, chamisha. Okay, fine. So this is talking about like what are the requirements of smicha, and I'm just going to go to the Rambam here, and I'll put the other Rambam on the screen, but I'm going to read from the Kafach because I like it. All right. Smichas Zakenim hi minui hadayanim. This is the appointment of judges. V'haremes l'kach amru. It's funny he calls it a remez. V'yismoch es yadav alav yitzavehu. It's a remez. That's not like a source.
It's not like,
Yeah, that's all him. It's more, no.
it's saying he did that. It's not saying that it's not setting up that's not a statement of an institution. That's a statement of what Moshe did.
Right. I don't know. It's just funny he calls it a remez. I don't know what the implications of remez are in that sense.
That's not imperative.
Oh, so maybe this is why he's saying this onwards here. Ve'ein anu tzrichim smicha biyad. We don't require smicha biyad. Ela adam haroy lihismanos omrim lo based in hamamanim also ata Rebbe Ploni hare ata samuch umuter lacha ladun dini knasos. Right. So this is what he said in Hilchos Sanhedrin. This is on page Kuf Beis if you want page numbers in Sanhedrin. Yeah, fine. So we don't require you to use your hand. You just say you are Rebbe Ploni or you are Samuch or it's motivation dan din knasos. Nase also ha'adam Samuch v'nikra Elohim v'yadun b'chol adinim. And that person is considered Samuch and he's called Elohim. Yeah.
I know what remez.
Yeah.
Remez at the 3.
Oh. Fight Savehu? I don't know.
Never mind. Anyway.
I'll just say 3 before that. He says
Right. Yeah. V'davar zeh lo yehei ela be'eretz Yisrael b'vad. This can only be in Eretz Yisrael. And we also didn't answer that, right? Why it has to only be in Eretz Yisrael? Which is funny because the Smicha of Yeshua wasn't in Eretz Yisrael, right?
Well, he still has an exception for going into Israel.
Yeah. Right, but what's the mechanism for that, right? Is it because
I still think that it's like a collective person of the collective acceptance of the Israelite nation that until the Jews were kovei in the land, and but I guess you're not connected to like once you're kovei in the land, somehow being part of the nation is connected to the land.
I mean, we have other laws like that. We have like that or something that they don't want to certain things like that.
Yeah, there are other things.
I think it lends support to your reading of Ad Yeshua Ad Moshe.
Right. Yeshua is the one who.
Because the Moshe Yeshua thing, like, isn't following the principle. This principle he's saying, and he separates them.
Right. Although Moshe did give smicha to the Shimon Zakenim also outside of Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
It might be until like Yeshua and his 70.
V'davar zeh lo yehei ela be'eretz Yisrael. Right. Amru ein smicha b'chutz la'aretz. Ela tzarech shehei hamismane v'hamamanim also be'eretz Yisrael yachad. So both of them need to be in Eretz Yisrael. Because shetiyeh la'adam smicha be'eretz Yisrael yesh lo ladun dinei knasos v'afilu b'chutz la'aretz. So the authority, once you get smicha in Eretz Yisrael, it extends for dinei knasos outside of Eretz Yisrael. Lefisha klal hu etzleinu Sanhedrin noheges ba'aretz u'b'chutz la'aretz k'mo she'yisbar l'kaman. Because it's a rule by us that the Sanhedrin operates in Eretz Yisrael and outside. Aval im tzarech shehu hashlosha smuchim But regarding whether the three, whether you need three people who have smicha in before they can be somech another one. So there's a suffix there. So it seems from the Talmud that the greatest of them needs to be samuch, and he could be joined by two, and then point whoever they want. So in other words, you don't need all three with smicha, you just need one of them who's mistar for the other two, which is how we ended up concluding when we read the Rambam. I hold Klomar Shiasuhu Rosh. So I hold that if there is an agreement from all of the Talmidim and all the Chachamim to appoint a man in yeshiva, in other words, to make him the head, and on the condition that this is in Eretz Yisrael, as we've said, then that person will cause the yeshiva to persist, to be established, and he will be samuch, and he can give smicha to whoever he wants afterwards. That's a really interesting thing. He's putting in terms of like a yeshiva, a function of a yeshiva and a rosh hayeshiva, right? Different language. Because if you don't say this, then we'll never have a possibility of a beis din hagadol.
I just question why not?
Well, because once the smicha was lost, then you wouldn't be able to have. Okay. I don't know. Right. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, the easy answer, it was not really an answer, is that he's not relying on a miracle, or he's is necessary for what? Not those are necessary. I mean, he holds tzaddikim, but I'm not aware of any. No, he holds is just for the tzaddikim, but I've never heard of a thing that he holds it's only people who are necessary. Yeah, if you find a source, let me know because I'm not aware of that. But so if going back to the original question, if you ask the Rambam, where does he get this from? He would say necessity, right? He's saying like you couldn't have a beis din gadol. If you should start kol echad mehem sheisam b'li safek, but kvar hivtiach Hashem more than just necessity. Hashem already promised b'shivasam ba'amru v'ashiva shuftecha kvar rishona. We say it every day in davening, right? That I will restore your judges as of old. So Hashem promised that there would be a restoration of the judges. So it must be that there's a mechanism for it to come through. V'shema tomar shemashiach yimane osam. Okay, maybe you'll say that the Mashiach will appoint them. The alpha pish enam smuchim, even though they are not smuchim. Shouldn't say even though he is not samuch.
You scroll down the list on the screen.
That wasn't never there in the first place.
I don't know.
Yeah. Where are we here?
Yeah, I'll ask tables like what are the differences?
I think this is around where we are, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe you say Mashiach will appoint them, even though they're not smuchim. Harizem muchash. That's null and void. Lefi shekvar bi'arnu b'hagdamas sfarinu zeh shehamashiach lo yosif b'Torah lo yigram mimena lo b'torah b'ksav lo b'torah b'peh.
Wait, that's not inclusive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I guess his question was maybe you'll say Mashiach will somehow like have an added authority that is outside of the pre-existing halachos of smicha to do this, and he's saying no, that would be Bal Tosef.
Why is that any different than the Rambam?
Yeah, well, I mean, the difference, which I agree is not a full answer, is that he's saying that there was a promise from Hashem, which is a weird source, right?
No, but
He's just saying
I mean, they're not based on that comment. The Rambam is making up his own mechanism.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, right.
They altered that Mashiach happened.
Right. Yeah, it is a good question. Right. Why is this any better than that? So I hold that the Sanhedrin will return before the revelation of Mashiach. This will be in one of the signs that it is Mashiach. Amar v'ashiva shoftecha kvarishona v'yotzecha kvatchila. It says, I will restore your judges as originally and your advisors like the beginning. And afterwards, it will be called for you the city of righteousness. V'tigdal teshukasam lashem u'letaraso v'yisrabe yesharam ifnei bo hamashiach. It's really waxing messianic here. And this will be without a doubt when God makes right the hearts of people and they increase in good actions, and their yearning for Hashem and His Torah increases, and their uprightness will also increase before the coming of Mashiach. Okay, that was all we need for our thing. Yeah, wow, that's quite a thing. I don't know what to make of any of this.
Yeah.
I told you it was spicy though. Did we read all the Rambam Bekius? Oh, I was sharing the whole screen already. Did we read the last part? Is that where we got it from? Yeah. Oh, I wanted to look at this reference in Sanhedrin Tes Zion Beis. Let's just look at that really quickly in Tes Zion Beis in Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin.
Hilchos Sanhedrin.
Va'onshין המשורין להן. Tes Zion Beis. Is this really the right source? Hold on. Was it Sanhedrin? Or is it Bechoros? It says Lahalan, so I assume it's Sanhedrin. Tes Zion Beis. Am I in the right parak? I'm not seeing it. Because it says Malakim Bisman Hazeh, B'chol Malkum Min Torah. You can give Malchus nowadays in every place Min Torah, Bifnei Shlosha Smuchin, in the presence of three Smuchin, V'alo Mipnei Hediotos, Bifnei Hediotos, not in front of ordinary people. So what was this a source for? Oh, the possibility that Bisman Hazeh Smicha could come back. All right, that's fine. That's not as strong as when the Rambam says it before. Yeah, fine. Yeah, you ever hear the conspiracy theory about the smicha? About that there's
some attempt in like the 1600s.
Yeah, in Suffice.
It was just so,
And yeah, you know who the one guy who got it was? Yeah, Yosef Caro, right? Now the conspiracy theory, that part's not the conspiracy theory. No, I think it was like that whole group in Suffice. Sorry, say it again. I assume so. I don't know though. But the conspiracy theory though, and I don't know if this is an actual theory or just the person. I had a high school teacher who told me this, that's why the Shulchan Aruch became the central halacha sefer for Klal Yisrael, because like the smicha was successful. But the thing is there was that smicha had controversy though, right? Because it was not all. I believe it wasn't all of the chachamim in Eretz Yisrael, right? I think that was there's something like lacking about that smicha there or something like that. Yeah, I have to look up the actual historical facts, but that's something interesting to look into there.
It was not, in the end, it was not accepted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wonder what the political situation. Yeah, I mean, because the other thing is that whole scene was a very messianic scene, you know, and so I don't know how many people like objected to it on that basis, even though they like held that, you know, Rav Yosef Karo deserved it. I don't know. I think I have some books at home that might talk about the history. Okay. All right. So that's that. So we read that. A lot of stuff we didn't figure out. I kind of do want to finish this parak today so we can go back to the halachos for tomorrow. Based in Shenismichu be'Eretz Yisrael v'yatzu l'chutz la'aretz. Based in that got smicha in Eretz Yisrael and then they went to chutz la'aretz. Hari hein dani dina knasos b'chutz la'aretz kederech shadani ba'aretz. So they can do a din on dina knasos outside of Israel, just like they did in Israel. Sanhedrin nohegas ba'aretz u'b'chutz la'aretz, because the Sanhedrin operates in and out of Israel. V'hu shihi smukin ba'aretz, as long as they got smicha in Eretz Yisrael. Rosh Galu shebaBavel b'makom melech hein omdim. Okay, so the exilarchs of Bavel, they stand in place of the king, like Denethor. V'yesh lahem lirdos es Yisrael b'chol makom v'ladun alehem, and they can rule over Israel. I don't know how to translate lirdos. Rule over, yeah. Rambam Bekius says lishlot v'limshol. They can rule over Israel in every place and to judge them. Wow, really? Bein ratu, bein lo ratu, whether they consent or not. Shnemar lo yasru shevet mihuda. That's a big statement. Does that mean that they could do a judgment like a king? Right? Like the king can do independent judgment, and he's saying that they can V'yesh lahem lirdos es Yisrael b'chol makom v'ladunos
I think
aleim.
he is saying that because they don't have. It sounds like even if they don't have smicha.
Yeah, right. I just didn't realize that exilarchs had that much power.
Not in comparison to Bema, really.
Yeah. What was that?
I was looking at Rav.
Makbili?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just says Shenamar because Yaakov Levanav, Lo Yasser Shevet Yehuda, right? So that Mecholkev Min Raglav. So in the Bracha of Yehuda, it says the scepter will not depart from Yehuda and the engraver from between his legs. Aki Yavo Shiloh V'lo Yikas Amim, until Shiloh comes, and I was Yikas Amim is Klomar Shiltono Shel Beis David, the authority of Beis David, Haba Mishevet Yehuda that comes from Shevet Yehuda, Yihei Kayam La'olam will always be in existence. Roshei Hagola Kulam Tzetzai Beis David, and the exilarchs were all descendants of Beis David. Him Miyatzgim it's Shilton Yehuda Shahaya Kayam Gam B'zman HaChurban. And they preserved the authority of Yehuda that was existing also at the time of the Korban. I mean, it's funny because the bracha says like not at all. Lo Yasu Shevet Yehuda. I mean, we don't have anyone with this authority nowadays, right? I guess that's a question on the bracha. It's interesting. Sorry. The drasha is Elu Roshei Galus of Bavel. These are the Roshei Galus of Bavel. He means Davka Bavel, not Edom. There you go. V'chol dayan haroy ladun shnasan lo rosh galus reshus. Any dayan who's fit to judge, who the rosh galus gives him permission. Wow, we have another authority now. Yesh lo ladun b'chol ha'olam kulo. Because now he's saying that the rosh galus can appoint dayanim. Right? Yesh lo ladun b'chol makom kulo af al pi shelo ratu balei dinin. So he can judge in the entire world, even though the litigants don't want him to. Bein ba'aretz, bein b'chutz la'aretz, alpha pi she'eno dan dina knasos, even though he cannot be dan dina knasos. He doesn't have smicha. Yes. What kind of judge is this, though? Right? I mean, like, is it just the fact that you don't need consent? Impose your judgment on others. Right, but I guess my question is like this: there's the din that comes from smicha, and then there's like a bate dinim of hedyotos. No, that's what I'm saying. Let me say this again. So you have the din that comes from smicha, then you've got like the bate din we have now, right, which is only by the consent of the litigants. And this sounds like something which is that you can give din even if it's not with the consent of the litigants. It's an in-between state. Yeah.
So can the king appoint judges who give?
Sounds like it, right? If
who would do Kedansos.
I would doubt it, right? Because sounds like that's unique to smicha.
It sounds like just a government in exile. That is the government in exile. Then even if he has no real power, you have to act like he has power. Real power.
Well, he does have actual power to compel people to follow the din. Yeah.
And when you say erotic elements in London, does it also mean innate knockoffs?
Does he also mean what?
Innate knockoffs?
No, I don't think. No, doesn't he specify that here?
No, that's for the appointing of the
you're saying the Rosh Galus himself? Can he do din knasos? Ladun. I mean, it's weird, right? Ladun is just an unqualified.
If you can judge like the king, then
You can do din and fashos even, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of this. I don't think we do that though, right?
I mean, the question of do we do that? The question of do we actually do that?
That's what I meant by we, yeah.
And then the question of the Rambam's view of halacha could be separate things in that.
Right.
Well, also weird is they can regular like anything like why are there appointments limited to
well, appointments I can see as being different than being done, right? Like just because he can do din doesn't mean he can like regenerate smicha or something like that, you know. Let's look at these Rav Makbili on Rishus. This is going on that the Rosh Galus. Wait, where's the Rishus word here? Rishus, yeah. Rishayon Lios Dayan, a permission to be Dayan. Ach ena begetter smicha, but not with the definition of smicha. Umashmaos hadavar hi shadayan pater milashalim im ta b'shikol hadas b'psak dina. Oh, that's an interesting nafkamina. I have no idea the framework of this, but what it means is that the dayan is patur from payment if he made a mistake in the shikol das when he gave it psak. He can also do court summons, right? Summon the people to appear before him. And then it says that he can't be done in knasos, she'eno dan kiban, she'eno samach ka'amar la'el. Yeah.
Yeah, so like reasoning like if a dayan is let's say they weren't appointed by the ratios and they decide to like impose in on Lydians.
Yeah.
Then if he erred that in his weighing of like principles, then he has to pay them back.
Mhm.
If they came to him and asked him to judge and he made a mistake like that, then he doesn't have to pay them back. But with someone who is appointed, then even if he decides to summon the litigants, then he doesn't have to pay that.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah. I thought you were saying the opposite for a second. That's why I look confused. Okay, let's go on. Any dayan who's fit to judge, that Beis Din in Eretz Yisrael gives him permission to judge. He can judge anywhere in Eretz Yisrael and in the cities that stand on the borders, even without the consent of the litigants. Yeah.
Why does that have to specify how royal?
I don't know. Yeah, why would they give him reshus if he was not royal ladun? Aval b'chutz la'aretz ein reshusan mo'eles lo lachuf es balei dinin. But in chutz la'aretz, then their permission does not give him, does not help him to compel the balei dinin. Afal pi sheish lo ladun dinin knasos b'chutz la'aretz, even though he can judge dinin knasos in chutz la'aretz, eino dan ela lemi sheratza ladun etzlo. He can only judge someone who wants to come to him. But to compel him, he cannot do. Until he gets permission from the Rosh Galus. Yeah.
It seems like this is maybe there's almost like two semi-overlapping realms of authority.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing
the,
also.
There's like the halachic authority, which is centered in Eretz Yisrael, and that's with Semichah, and that's I was thinking that's maybe why Semichah only in Eretz Yisrael, is that like halachic authority is centralized in Eretz Yisrael.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like almost like political authority.
Yeah.
Eretz Yisrael and the Reish Galuza are independent authorities.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay, everyone has a problem. There's like authority, like a national authority.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
But just going back to earlier, if the Reish Galuza gives someone permission, are they able to judge in Eretz Yisrael also?
Reish Galuza, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, last halacha. Misha ino roy ladun mipnei she'ino yudea. Okay, someone who's not fit to be done because he doesn't know. Or mipnei she'ino hagun, or because he's not hagun. I assume that's the same type of hagun that we saw in the.
So yes, this is what he kept specifying.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So hagun here meaning like in terms of mitos. Sha'avar rosh galus v'nasan lo reshus, and the rosh galus is over and gives him permission. Right. So I guess because this is a political thing, then you got situations like that, right?
Yeah. And like towards the end, I think the office became kind of
corrupt. Yeah. O shatau Beis Din v'nasan lo reshus, or Beis Din erred and gave him permission. Ein reshus mo'eles lo klum ad sheyeh roy. So the reshus doesn't help at all until he's roy, whatever roy means. Sha'makdish bal mum lamizbeach ein kedusha chala alav. That's a funny analogy. Someone who's makdish bal mum to mizbeach, kedusha isn't chal on him. That's not a halakhic argument, right? He's just making like an analogy, right? I don't think he actually means kedusha here for a dayan. Let's look at Rav Makbili. Based in Eretz Yisrael, fine, obviously. Shamakdish mipnei shehu kami shamakdish behema balas mum lekorban. So that's the analogy here: is that if giving reshus to someone who's not roy is like being makdish a blemished animal for a korban. Ein kedusha chala alav. Kedusha is not chal on him. Ein kedusha saguf chala alav of eno nase korban. So kedusha of the animal's body itself isn't chal on it, and it doesn't become a korban. And you can redeem it and use it for hulin. Okay, fine. That's the analogy. All right, that was a wild ride. Yeah.
What is this? It's a different problem. What is wrong with that idea?
Oh, the Reish Galusa
Yeah,
and the political reshus thing.
Without Semichah.
I don't know.
And if they can do that, can't they just effectively make a double?
Well, Beis Gadol still sounds like that is a halachic institution that needs like has specific parameters, just like Smicha. Doesn't sound like just like say again.
Don't they have the same power? Is it just like
I don't think so.
other than the Smicha? It sounds like they have.
You mean without the things that they get specifically from Smicha, without like the right to judge that? Yeah, I mean, in terms of all other dinim, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, we really can't understand this fully. I'm not going to do this, don't worry. But unless we go through the first paragraph of Sanhedrin, and know like what the court system setup is. Yeah, I didn't realize I was going to get this much into courty type things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just think I agree. Like maybe what you see with reshus, if he'll give reshus to someone that reshus is tolan and then on their continual reshus to be somech. And this is a for a court. Like once you have a court, they can poskin that you have permission.
I don't think this sounds like a psak issue, right? Because he's saying though that it won't be chal.
Yeah, I think.
It sounds like it's a reality issue.
Until just think like say, but then until they posted that way, you have to assume not that you're not the person who's been given smicha. A lot of people can't infinitely extend.
Right, but I'm saying that it's not even dependent on their psak. I mean, ultimately, if they make a mistake or if you're not roy, then their psak doesn't help you. By actual smicha, he doesn't say it by smicha, right? It sounds like that's like an actual. It sounds like it, right? It doesn't sound like there's an idea of roy, right? I mean, obviously, you would only want to do it if it's roy, but like, let's say you need to emergency restore the Senate based on a gadol. It sounds like you could still pew 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 pew, and just like give smicha to 70 and then boom.
It also seems like
you have to make the noises though, and then the finger gun motions.
It also seems like if you give smicha 30, they can't get the people who give smicha to can't give it to another 30.
Right, because he says you need 70 for the sending out the body dinim and restoring Mosaic.
There's like one person who's someone all Israel that he gives smicha to 70, not that.
Right. Yeah, right. He could do it in one shot though. He could do pum 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 or boom. Right. Yeah. Okay, shall we return to our home? Okay.
Yeah.
Hilchos.
Actually, I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
The thing he said at the very end about if they make this mistake.
Yeah.
Or if they're not fit. I don't know if this is where he's getting it from, but the Gemara says that if a person makes it like makes a judgment and then he makes a mistake in something that's like obvious halacha, like let's say let's say something let's say the possibility that like Caleb is mutter or something like that, then it's not a judgment. And so
Right.
Right, we mentioned that earlier in Torah.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. So we were at this halacha, Hilchos Talmud Torah. Where are we in Perek Chamishi, halacha Hey, and now we're out of the realm of Chol al Rabo, and this is now positive dinim of Kavod Harav. Right. So let's plan to read this today and then analyze it tomorrow, as is our wont to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Here you go, and I think that's the right packet. Is that with Chamishi in it?
Oh yeah, I think it is.
He has. All right. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. All right. V'asur lo latami likros l'rabba bishmo. It is asur for Talmud to call his rav by his name. V'afilu shelo b'fanav, even not in his presence. V'lo yazkir shemo b'fanav, and he should not mention his name in his presence. V'afilu likros la'acherim sheshmam kishem rabbo, and even to call others whose names are identical with that of his rav. Kederach she'oseh b'shem aviv, just like he does with the name of his father. Ella yeshane sheman, rather he should change their name. V'afilu la'achar mosam, even after their death. Meaning the first there is he should change the name of his friend even after the death of his rav and his father. V'hu shehi Hashem peli. This is if the name is a wonderment. Shekol Hashemeh yeda shu ploni, such that everyone who hears knows that it's him. So this is when we read this last time, I gave the example of Rabbi Ginsburg, and I couldn't remember his name. But in the interim, then he was here for Shabbos, and I heard him get called for the Torah. It's Devir Ravid ben Paltiel Eliezer. Absolutely unique name, right? Or Ravid, I think. Yeah, right. So like that's to me the Peli name, right? Whereas
Wait, is he saying that the Shinoi is the same Peli? Or is it actually the same Peli?
I think that the name is a Peli. Let's look at Rav Makbili. Peli Mufla, wondrous, Nadir. Aval Hashemos Shekorim Behem Kol Ha'am. But the names that everyone calls people by, Kagon Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, V'kiyot Behem, B'chol Lashon Uv'chol Zman, Korei Behem Shelo B'fanav, V'ein B'kach Klum. So those regular names you can call people.
You can hard remember that, but you can't say it when I'm referring to the Rav.
Right. So in others like this is if your Rav has an ordinary name, then you can call your friend by that name, Shelo B'fanav, right? Is this or is it Afilo B'fanav? No, sounds like even before him, right? Because he says but if the name is not a Peli, then you can call others by the name in front of your Rav. You just can't call your Rav by his name.
The way that
Shelo B'fanav?
I mean, I don't know if I'm
Korei Behem Shelo B'fanav. Oh, that's interesting. He's quoting the Rambam in Mamrin. Korei Behem Shelo B'fanav Ve'ein B'kach Klum. That's weird. Would you read the Rambam here the way I'm reading it?
I wouldn't have. I didn't read the way in my opinion.
I feel like it depends on how you punctuate this, like the whole sentence.
V'hu L'yishani Shemam V'afilu L'achar Mosam.
Well, I'm saying the period. So like. I feel like the period after the also will Talmud also Rambam Bekius.
Yeah.
So I think if there's a period there, then I think it would be all of the following things would be if it's the same Peli.
Mm-hmm.
But like but otherwise I'm not sure what it would include.
Strange. I mean, the fact that he's quoting from Mamrin. And the halachos are identical, would seem to be that that's the correct reading, right? That you can't call, that you still will not be able to use the name, a common name of your friend in front of your Rav at all, right? In other words,
not in front of your Rav.
No, in other words, okay. If your friend's name is Chaim and Rav Chaim Soloveitchik is your Rav, right? So then when Rav Chaim is not in the room, I can use your name. When Rav Chaim is in the room, I can't even use your name about you.
Right.
And I certainly can never use Rav Chaim's name about him. That's what it is based on Mamrin. Korei Behem Shelo B'fanav. Korei Behem Shelo B'fanav. Yeah, right. Yeah. The one question I have though also is like, how Peli does it need to be? Like, if it's just an unusual name, then like we had an example when I was going through Hilchos Kibbutz Aim in Shalhevet. So there was I had a student whose name was Charlize. The only Charlize I know is Charlize Theron, the actress, right? So like I've never, and then her mom's name was Svia, which like the feminine version of Svi, which I also think is a very weird name. I've never met anyone named Svia, So when I brought this up in class, someone said, "Oh, I know someone named Svia," but I would still call it a Peli, or is it like geographically local? Like, does it have what are the parameters here?
It has to be. You don't know anyone else who has that name because the case in the halacha is that you know.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
If anyone knows that name, they'll know who you're talking about.
Right. That's true. If it's identifiable that like oh, you're talking about so and so, then or it could be or just anything that's not just like a common run of the mill name, like when he says in other words, the Rambam seems to define it based on just anything that's not a common run of the mill name, not that there needs to be a level of rarity, just like
I think it's an accident. It's another like objective or subjective.
What do you mean by that?
Just like aren't they covered wrong like that time they would cover up that end or like
Oh.
one is an effective one was covered wrong.
I mean, I always thought this based on Kibbutz Aim that this is my own speculation, but that like in many ways this is modeled after like revering the Shem Hashem and or like fear of the name. What's the line?
Fear of the name increases fear of the thing itself.
Yeah, right. Hermione, write that down. No, you don't have to. But that like that there is an objective thing of like not. Okay, in the psyche, names are regarded as the equivalent of things, right? That's like a basis of like magic, belief in magic. So like there is a certain feeling that if you are treating the name in a common way, then like you're treating the person themselves in a common way, So I think like is that I would call it objective, not just like a societal thing. Yeah. And you see this today in that it still is viewed as rude for kids to call their parents by their first name, in most societies. Right, exactly. Yeah. Right. Do I know this halacha in terms of like not mentioning. I don't think I am. No, I don't think no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not.
For me to go like this.
No. But I also, I asked for. I think you're right. I don't think people are mocking me on this in general. I did once ask Rav Pesach about this, and I said like we call him Rav Pesach, but like is he okay with that? Yeah, no. I asked if he's okay with that, and he said yes, and I said. Because he gave a funny answer because I said the way I phrased the question was I mentioned the halacha and then I said like are you okay that people call you Rav Pesach and I said because I noticed that when you like call on the phone or you answer on the phone you say this is Rabbi Chait and he said yeah Rav Moshe didn't call himself Rav Moshe I for some reason it tickle my funny bone. Yeah.
But he was saying that it's fine. Though.
He's saying it's fine. Yeah, that was the answer he gave me. I'm not aware of the change. No, you could always be milky or covered as a Rav. But it's your Torah, so you could be milk all the kavod. I think I'll say that later on.
Okay.
Yeah, I know we definitely posting that way, but okay, let us stop here for today. Okay.